I just did probably my biggest spring thrift haul yet, and I was not expecting to have this much luck. Well, hello and happy spring! Today we're hitting 5 thrift stores to hunt for affordable vintage decor that's perfect for spring but still transitional and versatile. I'll also be sharing lots of decorating inspo as we browse, plus all the ways I've upcycled and styled everything in my haul. Buckle in and let's head to the first store. I always head straight for the knickknacks first to see if anything stands out, and I'm really looking for statement pieces or anything that could spark a conversation. Now, if spring were a picture, I think this would be it. Unfortunately, it didn't have a price, but I was tempted to ask because it's stunning. Pieces like this are perfect for styling on rustic stools or benches, especially paired with florals. This one did feel a bit too large for my space, so I left it behind, but what a perfect example of a vintage statement piece. And if you couldn't tell from a couple videos ago, I do have a bit of a floral obsession. I'm always on the lookout for a good planter or vase, especially this time of year. Now this had me so excited, check it out. This vintage silver-plated rose bowl even came with the flower frog and mesh, which is so rare. And if you're not familiar, the frog and mesh help keep the stems in place and prevent everything from falling to the sides. This makes those larger arrangements possible and gives this bowl so much more versatility. Pieces like this can go for quite a bit more online, so for only $8.49, I definitely wasn't leaving this behind. Now, it did have quite a bit of tarnish buildup and was looking a little dated, so I gave it a quick buff with some silver polish to bring back that shine while still keeping the patina in the creases. Right now, I have it in our entryway and I love how it looks with my thrifted hydrangeas. It really brings the perfect pop of spring and just feels like a breath of fresh air. And something like this certainly doesn't need flowers to look amazing. It would make a beautiful catch-all or a fruit bowl, even dressed up on a tablescape with some hot buns or bread. And I don't know, there's just something about the silver that's making those bread slices look extra delicious. Tell me I'm not the only one. Another thing I'm always on the lookout for are vintage frames and prints. I have this little corner in my living room that's always a bit neglected, and I've been wanting to turn it into a gallery wall for quite some time now. I've just been waiting for the right pieces. And speaking of the right pieces, having grown up in Nova Scotia, I was immediately drawn to this one. I instantly recognized it as the Halifax Harbour from back when I was a kid, way before it was further developed. And something I always did growing up was watch the sailboat races, so this felt very nostalgic to me. I'll be showing you how I include it in my gallery wall a little later. I thought this little vintage barometer was interesting, and looking back, I'm kind of regretting not getting it because it actually would have been perfect for the gallery wall. This copper jug also had me tempted, but I already have a similar one at home, so I just couldn't justify it. Either way, it's such an incredible steal for only $6.49. Now, something that's almost always on my list are little display easels and picture holders. I do have a couple, but most of them are wood and not as heavy as this metal one. It was definitely coming home with me. To give it more of a vintage and ornate look, I went in with some metallic bronze craft paint, and I'm really loving how it turned out. This type of easel is also great for displaying things like plates, trays, or even cookbooks and coffee table books. Sometimes that little extra effort in how you showcase simple decor can really give your space a more curated and intentional feel. And of course, not skipping the basket section since they're so on brand for spring. I do have quite a few right now though, so I didn't get any, but I have to show you this one because I almost grabbed it. I just absolutely fell in love with the bamboo and stitching, and I think it just has such a unique and rustic look. I did a little research and it looks like this could be a vintage harvest basket, and similar looking styles were made in the 1950s. This type of basket could be great for so many things. You could stick your condiments in it at a barbecue or use it for things like mail or gardening tools. I can even see it holding some of those populated plants. And I'll admit, I am having a bit of remorse for not just biting the bullet with this one. You guys tell me if you think I should have grabbed it. And moving on to the fabric section, I spotted this really pretty lace runner. If you didn't know, lace is one of my favorite vintage elements to style with, and for just $2.99, this was an easy grab. I've been using it as a little makeshift doily, and I think it adds such a soft, springy touch to my entryway, especially tying in with the bows on my candle holders. Also, look at these darling gingham placemats. Do they not remind you of a spring picnic? I mean, how adorable. They also look really similar to the ones that Modern Rustic Home sells for $52 for a set of 4. And these guys are so perfect for those casual meals at our island. We actually have most of our meals here, and I feel like having the placemats just makes the whole experience feel a little bit more intentional and special. Now our next stop is Chez Vincent, which is a charity-run thrift store closer to the downtown core. And what's really cool is they actually host live vintage auctions with all the proceeds going back into the community. Let's see what goodies we can find in here. Of course, they had lots of their Easter stuff out. And I was trying to find something like vintage Easter eggs or maybe like a bunny. I was just hoping for more neutral colors. I did like these eggs, but I put them back because they were kind of too sparkly for me. I don't know, maybe if they were like a white or a light blue, I would have gotten them. And since it's spring, we obviously have to talk about florals. How realistic do these ranunculus look? I mean, they're just perfect. Stems with asymmetrical variation like this are as realistic looking as it gets in my opinion. And they're also great for bringing that fresh, springy look to your space, especially if you don't have access to real blooms. If I didn't already have some at home, they'd 100% be coming home with me.
This is really pretty. I don't know what this is. Maybe you guys know, let me know. I don't know. You know what this is?
Like a napkin holder maybe?
Maybe. It just seems like a little like on the bigger side, but it would be like a nice napkin holder actually.
Now this pitcher and basin set is absolutely stunning. It even looks like one of those handmade vintage pottery pieces, which can get pretty pricey. And the 2-for-1 sets like this, where you can style the pieces separately, are my favorite. The bowl would be so perfect for something like a spring salad, and obviously the sky's the limit with the pitcher. Also, both of them are just pretty on their own, so you could stick them on open shelves either together or separately. I know you're probably thinking I'm crazy for not getting this, and I would have to agree, especially for only $7. I think I'm gonna start calling this window shopper's remorse.
I'm always looking for even number of plates. I like this dusty blue color. Not bad, $5.
I'm also loving the color-coded shelves. It's so nice when things are organized and displayed nicely. I know some of you guys in the States have the Goodwill bins, so you'll have to let me know what that's like because I'm very curious.
It's a little expensive, $7.50, but it's cute. Ooh, these little napkin rings are cute. $5. It's kind of expensive. It's not like heavy metal, so if it was heavier, I probably would get them, but they just kind of feel too kind of like light and cheap, I guess.
I have to say, this place had so many beautiful vintage gems, and aside from that picture, which you know I'm regretting, there were actually quite a few pieces I already have similar versions of at home. And with all the spring cleaning I've been doing lately, I'm trying to be more intentional with what I bring in and only buy the necessities. I do, however, have a very good feeling about the next place. But before we head there, I thought I'd show you a couple items I sourced earlier this year that I've styled for spring. The first is this gorgeous yellow wreath. I was so excited about this because it was only $3.50, which is honestly pennies compared to similar retail versions. And I thought I'd dress it up with some lace. If you didn't know, bows happen to be another obsession of mine, and my favorite way to make wreath bows is by using 2 separate strands. For this one, I'm using 2 pieces I thrifted a couple weeks ago. The thicker one came in a huge roll for just 50 cents, and the other I cut from a larger fabric scrap. So in total, this entire wreath came together for about $7. I really like how it looks in our powder room, but I'm also kind of liking it as a focal point above the stove. Let me know which look you think is best for spring. And this one was actually a garage sale find. I'm pretty sure I only paid like 50 cents, which of course I was very happy about. And funny enough, I actually found an inspiration photo that I could almost recreate. Now in an upcoming video, I do plan to DIY this to more of that same rich brown, but in the meantime, I'm still really happy with the overall look. Next up, our third stop is the Salvation Army, and I always hope to get lucky here. Not only is there no tax, but I find their prices to be some of the lowest out of most thrift stores in the city. And speaking of low prices, you'll never guess how much this was. This gorgeous handmade clay riser plate was only $2.99. So much detail must have gone into carving and painting all of those little flowers. It just has that earthy, rustic, almost Mediterranean feel that's perfect for spring and summer. I was absolutely styling this in as many different ways as possible. Okay, now this first look is a fun one, and I'm gonna share a little secret. I'm really not a baker at all, but I still love hosting, so I've kind of learned to make up for it in the presentation. If you want to elevate the look of baked goods, whether they're store-bought or homemade, adding a pretty textile on top of something like a cake stand or riser, and then adding in an extra plate on top can make such a big difference. Think of it like setting a fancy table for guests. Now tell me these don't look ready for spring. And this piece is way too pretty to tuck away, so when I'm not hosting, it lives out on my shelf. This next find kind of caught me off guard. My inner crow definitely came out when I saw this lovely vintage pair of brass plates shining in the wood section. I was also shocked to see how much these plates can go for, and it looks like they're even popular on auction sites. I got both of these for just $2.99 each, which I was more than happy with, and you'll see how I feature them in the gallery wall very shortly. I didn't end up getting anything else here, but I'm definitely feeling a bit of window shopper's remorse for not grabbing these linen napkins. So I didn't realize it at the time, but they would have actually been the perfect match for one of my plate sets. And it turns out IKEA actually features this exact set in their spring collection. Okay, last two stops. We're heading to the sister locations of both Shea Vincent and the Salvation Army, and lucky for me, they're right beside each other. So starting with Shea Vincent, this is the larger of the two locations, and on this day they were actually having a huge spring sale with 50% off all housewares. They also had this cute little front section filled with all kinds of spring related items. I almost considered grabbing this adorable little basket, but felt it was a bit too similar to my white ceramic one at home, so I left it behind. And one of the biggest advantages of this location is the furniture section. They were stocked up on this day. Some of their chairs were even going for as low as $5 and $10. Now, you definitely don't see 4 matching bar stools in a thrift store every day. Rattan is such a vintage staple, and these look very similar to the ones that Duval Kitchen sells for $545 a stool. These were unfortunately a bit too high for our island, but still such a great find for only $15 a chair. I also really like these carved wood stools, and I think they'd look great with a bit of sanding and some fresh stain, but they were also a bit too high. So I didn't end up getting anything here, but it actually worked out because I ended up needing the extra space in my car for what I found at the final stop. Now, sometimes the best isn't always last, but in this case, it definitely was. I must have come at the perfect time because it looked like they were in the middle of a huge restock. The first thing I spotted at the back of the store was this lovely striped wool pillow for under $5. It was not only in great condition, but it was also choppable, which absolutely sealed the deal on this one. And spoiler alert, I'll actually be featuring this in an upcoming room makeover, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. I also found these guys for just $8, which I picked up for my staging business. Now, this little fluted vase was another unexpected find, but I've actually been on the hunt for something this size for all of my shorter stems, so this was perfect. And lastly, the picture section, and oh boy, I'm so glad I held out with my gallery wall because I finally found the missing puzzle pieces. The first one that immediately stood out was this vintage print of the Indian Harbor in Nova Scotia. It's such an iconic maritime view, and it also happens to be just 5 minutes from where we got married. In fact, we even went back the day after to take photos and ended up bringing home a signed and dated print from a local artist. And then talk about perfect timing. This little wooden frame came with the glass and the mat included, and it just happened to be perfect for the print. And I also couldn't leave this last one behind for obvious reasons. And now that I had everything I needed, it was finally time to piece together the gallery wall. Now, before hanging anything, I added a couple hooks to some of the frames so that they'd sit nice and flush against the wall. And then I played around with the layout. Honestly, for way longer than I expected. I think I tried at least 15 to 20 different combinations. Also, a little trick when it comes to hanging. I like to use a tiny bit of toothpaste on the back of the hook to mark exactly where the nail should go. Then just press it onto the wall and it takes all of the guesswork out. And for frames with tricky latch hooks, Tying a small piece of string to guide it onto the nail makes things so much easier. And now this little corner finally feels complete, full yet still light and airy for spring. Gallery walls don't have to be about perfection. They can simply be a collection of stories that reflect who we are and make us smile. And most importantly, filled with the pieces that truly feel like home. This video, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more upcoming thrift hauls. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy spring thrifting.